Hey everyone, and welcome. The movie we're going to be talking about today is Cruella. Fun fact, the character Cruella de Vil first makes her appearance in the 1956 novel The 101 Dalmatians by Dottie Smith. This movie came out in 2021 and stars Emma Stone, Emma Thompson, and Paul Hauser, and was directed by Craig Gillespie. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Cruella tells the story of Estella and shows her journey into becoming the infamous Cruella de Vil. We see what her motivations are and what leads her to be this villain that we think that she is. This movie has a spectacular cast. Emma Stone was in Easy A. Emma Thompson was in the Harry Potter series. Joel Fry was in Game of Thrones. Paul Walter Hauser was in I, Tonya. Mark Strong was in Kingsman: The Secret Service. And Craig Gillespie also directed I, Tonya. Cruella is a fun movie filled with fashion and adventure. If you like movies like Maleficent, The Lion King, or The Devil Wears Prada, then you'll like this movie. I love these movies that Disney does that shows the origin stories of some of the villains from some of their movies. It's really interesting to see what their life was before we see them in the movie that made them popular. It was interesting to see how she basically lied her way to getting into fashion. I love how her friends use their mastery of deception in order to get her her dream job. Speaking of her friends, it was really cool to see her find this group of people who really supported her. I love seeing them in the movie working together and coming up with little different plans and just making sure that the job got done. When I was watching this movie, I just really couldn't help but notice that the storyline resembled the Lion King storyline. I thought it was interesting to see these, different connections between two different Disney movies. But I thought it was cool though how it wasn't exactly the same because this movie had a different outcome. But I thought it was still nice to see those comparisons. I thought it was cool how, in a sense, they were kind of setting up the 101 Dalmatians movie. There were characters in this movie who are in the 101 Dalmatians movie, but also some of the actions that were done in this movie are actions that would lead to some of the things that we saw in the 101 Dalmatians movie. So that was cool to have like some little subtle little callbacks to that. Even though I did enjoy like how this movie, had all these callbacks to stuff that was in the original 101 Dalmatians movie, one thing that I was really questioning was when does Cruella become evil? I thought that this movie, didn't show her journey into becoming evil. It showed her journey, to using the name Cruella. And I thought it was interesting to see that journey, but I was also wondering, we've seen Cruella de Vil in like the 101 Dalmatian movies, and, we always see her as this conniving, crazy woman who's going after these Dalmatians. And in this movie, we don't really see that. And so I was left wondering by the end of the movie, what was the turning point for her where she decided to go from, who she is in this movie to the evil Cruella de Vil that we know to be a complete psycho. There were some callbacks to the animated 101 Dalmatians that I thought was cool to see in this movie. There is, a scene where Cruella is driving, and it reminded me of the scene from the animated film where Cruella is driving all crazy and she's like all at the wheel, kind of like hunched up like this. And it was really cool to see that in this movie. But also, there was a scene in this movie in which one of Cruella's goons are talking about how some people look like how their dogs look like. And that's something that was shown in the animated movie in the beginning. There was like a montage of people walking their dogs and showing how their dogs looked like them. I thought the music in the movie was great and really matched the tone of the movie. I thought it was cool how they not only used the music to elevate the scenes where Cruella was showcasing her outfits, but they also used the music to help guide us through her life. This movie had some really remarkable fashion in it. When you see the outfits that Cruella's wearing, you really see how she was not afraid to break barriers. But then you also see the Baroness, and you look at her outfits, and while her outfits, some of them may be playing it a little bit more safe, her outfits still look good. So I thought that the fashion did a great job in this movie at showcasing each of the characters. I thought that Emma Stone did a great job as Cruella. She effortlessly switched between Estella and Cruella and showed how they both were different people, but they shared their pain. I thought it was interesting to see kind of how, even though they shared their pain, they had different ways of dealing with it and figuring out kind of what was going to be the best way for them to move forward. I love how throughout this movie we often see this black and white color scheme. I was wondering throughout the movie if it was something that was a little bit more planned, showing how Cruella was taking over not only for Estella, but also how she was taking over the fashion empire from the Baroness. Nevertheless, I thought it was really cool that they incorporated this color scheme, which matched her hair. And throughout the movie, we see it becoming a little bit more obvious. Cruella really had the best entrances in this movie. I love how with each entrance it was more creative than the last one, and the viewer got to see how in awe people were of these different, creative choices that she made. I really like how she challenged the Baroness, who is known as this giant in the fashion world, and she won. Emma Thompson was perfect as this cold hearted villain. She kind of reminded me of like the evil queen. Like, yes, Cruella was her daughter, but she didn't want anyone stealing her spotlight, and she would stoop to anything to make sure that that didn't happen. I love Mark Strong typically in movies, and I think he's a phenomenal actor, but I felt like he was underutilized in this movie. His character comes more important towards the end of the film, but in the beginning of the film, we see him kind of in a supporting role, but there's nothing else really happening with his character. And I felt like for someone with his, acting ability and range, they definitely could have used him a little bit more and incorporated him more into the story. Paul Walter Hauser did a great job as Horace in this film, and his character was really funny. His character often made me laugh because he would be oblivious to what was going on, or he would get so into his character that it was just so perfect. Like, for example, his exterminator character. He took it to the next level, and I thought he was perfectly cast in this movie. I think my favorite scene in this movie is at the end of the film where there is this big party and everyone comes dressed as Cruella. In this scene, it zooms in on the Baroness's face and we see how angry she is, but how she's trying to keep it in. The thing that really stands out that makes this my favorite scene is when they're scanning around the room at the different Cruellas, and one of them turns around and it's actually Horace dressed as Cruella. I think this scene was just so funny for me because it was so unexpected. Like, I know, he got into the characters that they were playing throughout the movie, but I just did not expect him to be dressed like Cruella like the rest of them. And I thought it was so hilarious. Cruella is a movie that has great fashion, a great cast, and great music. I don't think that the storyline was perfect, but I thought that Disney still did a great job of, showing us the backstory of one of their most popular villains. If you have not seen Cruella, I suggest that you go and watch it. It is a good movie. Thank you for watching my video. I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. If you have not subscribed, please do so you can keep up to date with more of my videos. But besides that, everyone stay safe, have fun, and goodbye.